Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be, or good evening or good night. This is Jen at JensArtyInclinations, a place to create, share and play.
Hello. All right, look, today is just a bit of fun mucking about with some different techniques. I had a little bubble post pack that some post arrived in, or actually it was some jewellery that I ordered that arrived, and I just thought I'd make a little portfolio out of it, just purely to muck about and try some different things. So all I'm doing here is just using a stencil and I'm rubbing some ink through the stencil. I'm not looking for a perfect imprint. I'm actually looking for something that has a little bit of a worn look. The ink I'm using for memory was frayed burlap. And as you can see, I didn't have a dobber and I just had the top of the dobber, and so it was taking me forever to get it down and make it work properly. I would have been just as good to grab a tissue, which would have been just as ineffective. But look, it worked. I made it work. It is all good. I quite like this stencil. It's just one that I picked up off eBay quite cheaply. You often see this with a few others in a pack, but yeah, I like the writing and the Paris and all of that sort of element in it. So just, did a little bit around the edges. I used the ruler to tear it so that it had a slightly rougher edge. And for memory, I halved it. Yes, I did. And I only used half of it, and I used the other half in something else. All right, so I quite like how that turned out, and it felt like it was about the right size if I folded it in half for the front of this bubble post pack. Now, all I did with the post pack was I just did a really fine slice off 3 sides so that then it opened up like a book, because I felt like it had its own little binding, and I was going to do that as a book to make it a little bound book, but then I didn't want to punch through the bubbles because then I'd lose that feel, and I wanted that, soft bubbly feel that you get with post packs. So I had this lovely big piece of map that's out of a lovely big atlas. It's a wonderful way to get maps is get those really oversized atlas books, and of course maps do go out of date because countries change names and so forth. So you can often pick them up quite cheaply or, ineffectively. Well, effectively, because look, see, I've just done it. Anywho, the way my gluing technique for this particular one, as you can see, was just to pour the glue on out of my glue bottle and spread it out with my little spatula that I picked up. I love that little hand spatula. You'll see I'm kind of just inking the edges on most of these pieces because I did actually want to see the contrast. I didn't want them to blend into each other. I wanted to get that effect. So it kind of reminds me of the way I used to do collaging book covers for school when I was at school, and I'd cut up pieces out of a magazine and we'd paste them down, and then we'd outline every individual piece with black texture. So I must do that on camera for you one day. Looks amazing. And then you've got this fabulous background that you can paste. So I must do that as one of my backgrounds, that I'm planning on doing a bit of a series on some different ways to do backgrounds. So yeah, I must make sure that I include that for all of you because that is an easy thing to do with anything. So we'll do a couple of different kinds of ones. There we go. All right, so all I'm doing here is I am just gluing the pieces of the map down on the back, and I'm inking around the edges of each of them before I put them down. And I must say, gosh, I feel like I'm talking in a big cavern. You probably feel like I'm talking in a big cavern here today too. I must say that spatula, using that to spread the glue, that's fabulous because it's really easy to wash off because it's just rubber, but also it does such a nice job of spreading the glue while also giving them an extra press to really burnish them down. And of course, the bubble wrap little packet that I chose. I just chose it because I like the size, but the surface probably was a bit too shiny to work with, which I did not consider. But as I say, this is just a bit of silly fun. It's just something to play with, and hopefully it'll give you ideas on, some of those other... We get some beautiful envelopes through, don't we, in the mail, even in some of our junk mail. So hopefully this will give you an idea to use on something that lends itself a little bit better to the process than what you're seeing here. However, look, it's all fun. It's all just playing. And then see that little piece that I was stenciling at the beginning? That became my little cover. And then it was actually sticking to paper, which of course helped make that sit down really quite nicely. And that I actually did just on the back of a paper bag. It was a brown paper bag, and that's all I did. So you can see I've glued over a little bit too, just to seal those pieces in because of the nature of the surface material. And then I just did the same on the back. So on the back I did it all over, and then I also did it with smaller pieces. And I had intended to use that piece I'd stenciled for front and back, but I really liked it with the little pieces, so in the end I did do it with the smaller pieces on the back. And the good thing about that is you can tell really easily which bit's the front and which bit's the back, although that's only in my culture that we open books that way. I know that we don't open books that way in other countries. I've got a beautiful wordless picture book that's all about that. Mirror, yes, by Jeanette someone. Probably got that wrong, but I know it's Mirror, and it's a beautiful story about two different cultures, because the different cultures open their book the different ways, and you're seeing the ways that the different families are living, and they both go out and buy something for their house, and it's so beautiful, so gorgeous. One of my favourite books. Jeanette Baker, oh dear. Someone out there will know I'm a big fan of wordless picture books. I adore them because they're actually not kiddie things. They're actually made, some of them are quite children's books, but they're actually made to be able to create your own stories and to be able to use your own imagination, and they are a delight for adults to watch. I don't know if you've seen any of them. There's like Rainstorm, and there's, what's another one that I love? Oh, The Boy with the Paper Aeroplane. I can't remember the name of that, but that's beautiful. Splash is a beautiful book about a little girl going to the beach. And of course, all of the Zoom ones and the ones where you follow the crayon. Oh, just, magical world. So rather wonderful. That was something I discovered to introduce books to my kids, and I fell in love with them and ended up getting completely addicted and going and finding them for myself. All right, look, we've really skipped ahead here. However, all I did on the edge there, as you can see, is I just used masking tape. So that just covered up the edge of the post pack. And I probably later on will do it all around the edge. But then it's nice to see where it came from sometimes with our projects. So it's nice to have a little peek of the materials that you used, and you can see the history of the piece of art that was made. So I have ended up leaving that without covering all the edges. However, you could very easily, cover all the edges. No one will ever know what you made it from. All I'm doing here is I'm now just creating a little bit of a portfolio pocket style thing for the inside. So I like this little bit of writing as the contrast against the map backdrop. I simply stapled this as a little notepad. So then I put that over the top, and then I stapled it along the bottom, and that actually adds to the whole effect. So again, you can kind of see where it's come from, where it's made. I just like that look. I think that's a lot of fun. So I used the map pages again as pockets. On one side, I did a corner pocket, so like a corner tuck almost. And then on the other side, I did them as actual full 3-sided glue pockets. So any second now, you'll see me put this down. Come on, Jen, you can do it. Ha, there. See? You could do it, Jen. All right, so that is for the little mini notepad that I just made with, they were just some lined pieces of paper that I had that were called unbleached pages. Just beautiful, I thought. So then I'm putting down a little pocket on the other side, and then another one on the top so that I could put in a couple of other little pockets and pages. So on the bottom, I attach them with a stapleless stapler. I know that sounds a bit strange. And then on the top, I put these little butterflies just on these little individual note pages to pop along in the top one. And I didn't want them too inked around the edges, so I just ran them across the ink pad just to give them a little touch on the edge. So there you go, that's the inside. Little date notes, some little individual pages, and also a little notepad as well. And then on the front, I thought I'd make it just a nice little blank label that you could write on it, whatever it is, dates, to do, fun, whatever it is that you want to write on it. And I glued that down just to give the front a little bit of a finished look. So I hope you enjoyed what you saw coming together here. I'm just finishing off the cover. As I said, this is just a little bit of silly fun, but I thought it was about time that I had a go at adapting envelopes and so forth, or, those post packages that I see other people do. And you know what? You're right, everyone. It is fun to do, and actually it is really easy. And because you've got this structure there, it kind of helps you out, but it also makes you think. So, of course, I love numbers and things like that. So I popped this little sticker on the front, and you notice I added some glue just to give it a bit of a better finish. So here is the final little piece, just putting a little butterfly in the corner, because a wee little butterfly. Oh, I love butterflies. Little flutterbies. Put a little bit of map on the bottom there just to give it a little bit more layering. And there you are. There is the finished piece. The little pages in the top pocket, little date ones in the other pocket. And there's my little notepad. And, someone could change it up and they could put other things. It could be, maybe you're having a party and you're just need something quick. And so there are your notes that you're putting together, or you're going to an event and you need to hand out little pieces of information. And so there you've got your little separate pieces of paper to give out. Look, all sorts of things. These are just fun. So here is the definite finished piece. And there it is inside all together. How cute. And as I said, you can just see the little peek of where it came from, the little post pack inside. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. I'd love it if you could leave me a comment below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw today. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you next time. And in the meantime, keep creating. Enjoy.